after you listen to some of Ronald Reagan's Goldwater speech from October 27, 1964, I'll share with you some of the details here from Niall Gardner. Here's cut one, Ronald Reagan.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. Not too long ago, two friends of mine were talking to a Cuban refugee, a businessman who had escaped from Castro. And in the midst of his story, one of my friends turned to the other and said, "We don't know how lucky we are." And the Cuban stopped and said, "How lucky you are. I had some place to escape to." And in that sentence, he told us the entire story. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
1964. You will marvel as you hear this. Same battle taking place in New York 23, and that'll take place in elections over the next year.
This idea that government is beholden to the people, that it has no other source of power except the sovereign people, is still the newest and the most unique idea in all the long history of man's relation to man. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves. You and I are told increasingly we have to choose between a left or right. Well, I'd like to suggest there is no such thing as a left or right. There's only an up or down. Man's old age dream, the ultimate in individual freedom consistent with law and order, or down to the ant heap of totalitarianism.
Ronald Reagan, 45 years ago. The point of this is that the left never changes. The left is always on the march. The left is always who they are. Totalitarianism is always what it is. American exceptionalism is the notion that we have avoided that because of our founding. We have avoided the role that human history has dictated for most people who have ever lived on this planet. The vast majority of people who have ever lived on this planet have lived in tyranny or some sort of relationship to it, dictatorship or what have you. The concept of American exceptionalism is that we are and have been since our founding the lone outpost and beacon for freedom. And if we lose it here, there's no place else in the world to go to have it. If we fall, then the rest of the world falls with us. That's why it is so dangerous what is happening now. Here's another from President Reagan, October 27, 1964.
Senator Clark of Pennsylvania, another articulate spokesman, defines liberalism as meeting the material needs of the masses through the full power of centralized government. Well, I, for one, resent it when a representative of the people refers to you and me, the free men and women of this country, as the masses. This is a term we haven't applied to ourselves in America. But beyond that, the full power of centralized government, this was the very thing the Founding Fathers sought to minimize. They knew that governments don't control things. A government can't control the economy without controlling people. And they know when a government sets out to do that, it must use force and coercion to achieve its purpose. They also knew, those Founding Fathers, that outside of its legitimate functions, government does nothing as well or as economically as the private sector of the economy.
This is why I just, when you listen to this, you get chills up your spine. Ronald Reagan, the father of modern conservatism, and this is why I just get livid when I hear the so-called elites in our media and on our side of the aisle in politics say that Reagan and his era are over, that we cannot, Reagan's time has come and gone. We cannot continue to make ourselves a movement in the image of Ronald Reagan. Remember, the left had to do everything they could to try to destroy Reagan. He was an amiable dunce. He was an idiot. He was just like George Bush was a dumb idiot. Things do not change. Ronald Reagan was hated as much as George W. Bush. The reason you don't know that is because Reagan was likable on television, was able to overcome the effort to make people despise him. It takes a unique personality to be able to do that. Now consider this next. As Obama goes around the world apologizing for America and dithers on deciding whether we should try to win the war in Afghanistan or hand the country and the people who live there back to the Taliban.
We cannot buy our security, our freedom from the threat of the bomb, by committing an immorality so great as saying to 1 billion human beings now enslaved behind the Iron Curtain, give up your dreams of freedom. because to save our own skins, we're willing to make a deal with your slave masters. Alexander Hamilton said a nation which can prefer disgrace to danger is prepared for a master and deserves one. Now let's set the record straight. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war, but there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second. Surrender.
And that's, I mean, all of this, I think, is just, this speech was 45 minutes, we're just culling bits of it. But consider, want peace? Fine, you can have it right now. You surrender. You won't have peace, but you won't have any war, but you'll also be a prisoner. And consider that remark as Obama is plotting whatever course he's plotting in Afghanistan. Speaking of that, there is a story in the New York Times today claiming that the brother of the Afghan president, Hamid Karzai, is on the CIA payroll and is involved in the poppy trade in the southern city of Kandahar, a place I have been. Folks, this is reminiscent of what JFK did in Vietnam, allowing a coup against the leadership in South Vietnam, the only one that was willing to stand up to Ho Chi Minh. It's amazing. The Karzai brothers have responded, saying this is all lies. This is nothing more than an attempt by some and the media, the New York Times, to affect the outcome of this runoff election and have my brother, the president, defeated. It's all lies. The Karzai brothers have never said it. We're not part of the CIA. The CIA is not paying us. Now, for the New York Times to get this story, it has to come from somewhere. And we know full well, I don't know full well, but I wouldn't doubt for a minute that this is Obama, the Obama administration, trying to get rid of this guy. I know that's exactly what is happening here, so that they can then set the stage for whatever surrender policy they want in Afghanistan. Here's some classic Reagan lines on government.
No government ever voluntarily reduces itself in size, so government programs once launched never disappear. Actually, a government bureau is the nearest thing to eternal life we'll ever see on this earth.
And this.
You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
Ronald Reagan, 45 years ago, televised campaign address of Barry Goldwater, 1964. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Doing the work that the mainstream American media just won't do. Rush on the EIB network.